Welcome to More Than a Few Words, a marketing conversation. This is your host, Lorraine Ball, and I am so excited to have Angel Tuccy back. If you remember, the last time we chatted, she shared perhaps a huge marketing mistake. But this podcast matchmaker is the perfect example of how you learn from your mistakes and turn it into a profitable business enterprise. Angel, welcome back.
Well, I am so excited to be back with you, Lorraine. It was a ton of fun to be able to share my big blooper with you last time that I was growing a Facebook community. I grew it to 10,000 members before I started collecting emails or had an opt-in for anybody. So that was a big amateur mistake. And I'm back because I think I've made another mistake that I'm currently repairing. So this is a fun journey for all of us.
Absolutely. I mean, and you moved from that big Facebook group and you created this wonderful platform on school. And I got to tell you, I made some great connections with even one of the podcasters that I was kind of fangirling, and I had applied for his podcast elsewhere and he kept ignoring me. But on your platform, it was more intimate. We had a chance to have a conversation. It was great for us. And I'm sure you got a lot of joy from it, but there wasn't a lot of cash, was there?
Well, it is interesting when you're in this space, right, where you bring people together and then they go off and make those connections. Yes, where's the love, right? Where's the love here? So number one, we did open up a brand new community on school because the connections and the relationships is far more, it just feels like it's higher quality, being able to bring people together. So this year I am on a mission to actually feature every one of my podcast hosts and build that connection so that it does make it easier for you to build those relationships with each other and connect. But also, Lorraine, there's a couple things that we've been able to do. Number one, I've now trademarked the name Podlicity. I couldn't own my intellectual property with the Need a Guest framework, right? Because need a guest is a common phrase. So I'm trademarking my intellectual property. Number one, that's how I'm going to monetize it. Number two, I put it on a platform where you can come in for free, but there are also tiered membership levels. And at that premium level, just that upgrade, it's only $17 a month, Lorraine, and $97 for the year. But I'm finding it's really easy for people to make that leap, especially once they come in and they find how easy it is to get booked on podcasts with each other. So two things now I'm doing. I'm monetizing, I'm trademarking my intellectual property, and I put it on a platform where I can create a tiered payment option. And that's working very well.
You know, and it's been fun to watch it grow. And I think there's a great lesson there for any marketer, for any business owner, is we get into this trap of giving our stuff away for free. And we think that that's going to roll back to business somehow. And sometimes it does, and that's great. But being more strategic, being more deliberate, having a purpose. And the other thing you did is that protecting that IP. That is absolutely huge. When I sold my agency, I actually pulled all my intellectual property, my podcast, my training material into a separate company. So when they bought the agency, they did not get the IP.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
That had a value all its own, separate from the customer list and the database and all of that. So I think as you're developing these things, recognizing your IP had value.
Yeah. Yes. And so it's been a lot of fun, and the support, Lorraine, that I've gotten from our entire podcast network has been incredible, because it is, when you're starting something fresh and new, you're starting from the ground up, and it seems like it's a pretty heavy lift. But turns out we're not starting from nothing, and so it's been pretty exciting to watch it take off.
Well, you know, let's go back. You did have, and you still have, this podcast community of 10,000 people on Facebook. Now, they're not all still active, and we know the truth about podcasters. 90% of them are no longer doing it. Okay. But those of us that stay with it and stay connected are like, she's doing something cool. Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll play. And the fact that you've kind of created these tiers, how did let's kind of get into the nuts and
Mm,
bolts a little bit.
mm.
When you were thinking about matching tiers and value, what were the things that made you say, this is a freebie, but this is a premium and this is a super premium? How do you make those divisions?
Right. And how do you price it as well? And so there's been different iterations of it, Lorraine, and it has changed even though, and we just launched it. So my first 100 members in the group were all podcast hosts. I only invited podcast hosts in to be that first 100 before I opened it to the public. And my goal is really to add value to our hosts because with my hosts, now when clients come to me, they want to get booked, when our authors need to promote their book sales, I have this great relationship with these podcast hosts. So really picking your brains on what would add value to you, what do you want to see? And what we realized was you also need visibility for your shows. You need more subscribers, you need more listeners. So at that very first level is how we can pour into and serve our podcast hosts. And I wanted to make it an element that was easy enough. Like you could say, oh yeah, I can absolutely do that, right? $17 a month or the $99 a year. But it was big enough that those who, I don't know, for some reason, Lorraine, even a $17 investment will scare off those that aren't really the right fit. And it just seemed to find that perfect little sweet spot. So even though $17 isn't a lot, it does filter out those that really don't belong, who are not really growing their shows.
Well, and I think you have a situation where we know in the podcast industry, there's the people that put the toe in the water and decide the water is too cold.
Yes. Yes.
And then we have the people that kind of stay with it, but it's a hobby. They don't really know why they're doing it. And again, they're like, I'm going to use free hosting. I'm not going to spend any money. And their shows always kind of remain where they are. And then you have the people that say, no, I'm going to make this investment or this investment. And then that little leap doesn't feel like a lot.
And when you make those small investments, like you start out with your equipment, a better microphone, a better studio, better light, like you start out incrementally investing in you, but it always pays off in dividends. It does. It separates you from the crowd and the masses and everybody who's doing the free thing and trying to scramble it together. And it does put you in a different level of professionalism, of credibility. You are more attractive, and you will find a way to, if you are going to invest in yourself and you'll invest in your show, it always pays off. It always pays off, but you got to go first. It's a game of, you have to invest first. It won't come until you commit.
It's so funny because I go back, because I've been doing this for a long time. I go back and I listen to my early shows and the content is good, but oh my God, there is not enough AI in the world to clean up that audio. We were recording those early shows in our offices with beautiful hardwood floors and solid surfaces everywhere. Doesn't that sound like a great recording environment?
That is right. There's a reason they put all those padding things on the wall, and there's carpet, and they bring rugs into recording studios. Yes, all of that noise just bouncing off. But here's the thing, Lorraine, you started, and I think that's for everybody. Start with what you have. Start with where you're at. Put something out. Something ugly is better than nothing perfect, right? Like, go and get started. And how fun is it probably to look back and go, oh my gosh, like we're so embarrassed by the old days because of how far you've come.
Except I got to tell you, because I'm coming up on episode 1200, and I'm really kind of excited about going back and just pulling little snippets, because even though the sound quality is like, there was good content. There were fun conversations. And so kind of being comfortable, I think, still building on that. But talk to me about your higher level. So you get everybody who's okay putting their toe in the water. What kind of things did you think about, and what are you looking at long term for that next level?
It's so funny, Lorraine. I feel like I have come full circle. I've kind of come back to what I originally started out, teaching several years ago. And that is all about creating an ecosystem of visibility. People come to me because they want more visibility. They want more exposure. And it isn't just, I want more people to read my book or watch my podcast or listen to my show. You're creating a movement. You've poured into, you're making a difference. You've created an impact in the world. And so people come to me because they want that ecosystem of visibility. And so our higher tier, I call it the visibility before breakfast blueprint, things you can do before you even get out of bed in the morning. And I've created an acronym leveraging the things I have been teaching for years. You've heard the phrase, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, my phrase is 2 apples a week creates a visibility streak. And so I teach a 12-week course, a visibility framework, leveraging the 5 apples, right? The 5 stages. And apples is an acronym. So A is for articles that create reach and a permanent asset online. P is for podcast interviews, being a guest for reach. The other P is for press releases, creating trust and credibility out in the marketplace. L is for live events where you meet and connect and build partnerships. And E is for evergreen recordings and, videos and stuff that sticks around, right? And is working while you are sleeping. So I teach a whole 12-week program on how to create an ecosystem of visibility. And that's our higher tier. And so you come into Podlicity, it's free, network with podcast hosts, create great connections, upgrade to premium if you want even more visibility. You can host a masterclass. You get articles included in our inner circle. You also can you get your own affiliate link so you can create an extra side hustle income. And then that visibility blueprint is the highest tier so that we can bring you more viewers and subscribers to your show by borrowing other people's audiences and creating an ecosystem of visibility.
Awesome. Well, Angel, I could hang out forever. I always love spending time with you. I always love to know kind of what you got going on. And I'm going to encourage guys, if you're listening, if you're in the podcast space, if you think you want to be in the podcast space, then you want to hop over to
Podlicity. It's like publicity using podcasts. So it's Podlicity. You can find us in school. You can also grab my Visibility Before Breakfast blueprint at visibilitybefore.breakfast.com.
Awesome. And I will have both of those links in the show notes. Thanks again, Angel.
It's such a pleasure to be with you again.
And if you've enjoyed this conversation, if you'd like to find other conversations like this, check out our YouTube channel. You can find us at More Than a Few Words on YouTube. This has been another episode of MoreThanAFewWords.com. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of More Than a Few Words. Thanks for listening.